SVC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
The Senate of Romania will delay its review of stringent gambling reforms proposed by the political party Save Romania Union. The decision follows Romania's election of a new president after the rescheduled general election held on 18 of May. iGaming Daily examines the long-standing conflicts and fallout within Romania's gambling sector, a market rocked by regulatory scandals in 2025. Authorities now face pressure to implement tough measures to restore stability and trust in the system. I'm Viktor Kayed, today's host for iGaming Daily. I'm joined by Ted Menmuir, editor-at-large. But before we dive into it, a quick message from our sponsors, Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. Ted, welcome to the podcast, mate. How are you doing?
Very well, Victor. How's your weekend?
Yeah, it was all right. It was pretty chill, nothing out of the ordinary. I don't want to sound like a boring person, but I just stayed home and relaxed after a long week. How was yours?
Good. Watched PSG stomp on Inter, which was very unexpected for me.
Yeah.
And I'd like to apologise to Betson for writing a feature on them. I think we're cursed. So.
We know better for next time.
Yes.
We know better.
Please do not come to SPC for any football information.
That's a joke, obviously. Please do come to SPC to stay informed. Football aside, I think SPC and you specifically are quite a good source for regulatory news.
Thank you.
Especially in Europe, and today we have the market of Romania to look at, and you've covered it quite extensively. There's a lot going on at the moment in there. So my first question to you is, can you detail why the Senate of Romania has postponed its review of the gambling reforms?
Okay, so we've got to begin with the political backdrop to Romania. It's been a turbulent 12 months for Romanian politics, which in May concluded with its rescheduled presidential elections that were put back due to foreign interference. The elections were won by former Bucharest Mayor Niscor Dan, and he seeks to reset the government's agenda due to the backlog of parliamentary issues. And of significance, Dan has now entered a period of negotiations to pick a prime minister from an opposition party to set a unified agenda for the government's legislative affairs and to set kind of the timetable for the new government. So the Senate mirroring these conditions has chosen to review kind of key delays, and one of them being on gambling reforms.
Mm-hmm. And reforms are being proposed by the Save Romania Union party. What principal changes is this party looking to implement?
So the Save the Romania Union party, the USR, have been the biggest critics of gambling in Romania, the structure of gambling, and they have called for a regulatory overhaul of Romanian gambling in light of the fallout of the gambling office, the ONJN, and they seek to basically temporarily replace the ONJ's governance and put it to the Ministry of Finance and the Tax Office. In addition, they've submitted 2 bills on consumer protections and the governance of the industry. The first bill aims to revamp Romania's self-exclusion into a centralized system, providing kind of much tougher safeguards and conditions on how players can self-exclude. And in essence, they're looking for a one-touch self-exclusion solution to be implemented across all Romanian gambling licenses. The second bill, it proposes a hard ceiling on gambling spend, and it wants to limit consumers' expenditure to 10% of an individual's declared monthly income that will be monitored by the tax office. It's an enforcement that needs to be reviewed by the Senate and technical commissions because the USSR is accused of proposing the hard ceiling without any technical discretion. So it's been criticised for that, as in they put in the bill without any technical notice of it will just be controlled by the tax office.
Do you know if they have been in talks with the industry at all, with operators, with the private sector in general? No.
then this is what's caused the backlash. And again, much of the fallout here is between the gambling office of Romania, the ONJN, and the USSR party's leadership itself, which has asked for the ONJ to be kind of dismantled.
I think you just said USSR there. I was going to say there's just one S missing from a disinformation campaign, but yeah, USSR party. And the ONJN office, it's attracted more negative attention than positive in the last kind of few months. Can you explain the fallout from the regulator failing its audit of accounts?
Okay, so this reflects kind of a deep period of kind of political instability in Romania. And at the start of the year, the ONJN were put under a specific auditing by Romania's Chartered Accounts Office, who found that during the period of 2019 to 2023, it could claim an unaccounted tax collections and fees of near 1 billion euros that it hadn't collected. Now, the ONJN kind of refutes those claims, stating that it had tried to implement the tax fees, but due to kind of changing regulatory conditions, it never could go forth with them. And also it accused the government that it hadn't been given the right systems and settings to be able to proceed with the tax. So what it did was file for the taxes, but never claim them. The former ONJ executives were asked to stand to the select committee, but they refused to, stating that they believed that the select committee was governed by the USR party and that they did not want to be put forward to kind of a kangaroo court. So it's been a period of a lot of drama in Romanian politics.
So I'm going to reel you back to the ONGN's response. Let's summarize it. So the regulator, they're saying they weren't really supported by the government to collect these taxes. And now they're fearing that the scrutiny is blown out of proportion because it's coming from the USR party. Is that correct?
In a sense, yes. But what the ONJN said was that there was an upheaval, a 4-year upheaval in Romanian gambling in terms of new fees and new taxes being imposed by the government following consecutive years. Also, kind of a much tougher governance or monitoring of the licenses themselves. And they said that they never were given the technical requirements to proceed with these inspections. Now, the ONJ have said that they have recorded what tax collection should have been, but they were never they never proceeded to take in or collect the taxes themselves.
Interesting. So
it's very much a blame game.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Everybody's putting the blame on to the other person. And this is not a game. We're talking about 1 billion euros here, and a lot of uncertainty placed on operators that are active in this market as well. But yeah, definitely an interesting development. We're gonna leave for a short break here, and then we're gonna dive straight back into it.
Join us for SBC Summit Malta from the 10th to the 12th of June. With over 75 exhibitors and more than 250 expert speakers, our expanded agenda covers all aspects of the European gaming industry. Get your tickets now at sbcevents.com.
And we're back. Ted, you've summarized the developments in Romania. You've hit the nail on the head pretty much. Can you take a deeper dive into what the long-standing structural issues are in Romania that are affecting the gambling sector?
It's very interesting because Romania's gambling sector is, it's one of the younger ones in Europe, and I think that it's going to progress from being very retail-focused to kind of its online expansion. And its online expansion coincided with Romania being asked to adopt a lot of kind of compliance measures in light of European bodies and European regulatory kind of procedures, in which it never kind of implemented that, but it acted kind of in the front foot and tried to kind of apply structural changes that never came to play. The other factor here is that, the changes in government of Romania saw gambling tax being targeted and being changed from a period of, I think, 2018 all the way to 2023, with consecutive kind of increases in fees. And also they changed kind of the structure overall of taxation. So it went from quite a simplified blanket structure to multiple units. And also they changed the kind of structure overall for land-based gambling and taxes, as in what machine the venues can operate, but also the taxations of those machines, of those table games. And they compartmentalized every type of tax criteria. So it's been an area of confusion, of kind of regulatory imbalance for all stakeholders.
And how has the ONJN handled these developments over the years?
Well, it depends which party you talk to. The divisions there, I mean, I think there are two camps. There's one camp that wants to kind of restart Romanian gambling from the roots and branch, get rid of the ONJ, and that's clearly led by the USR party.
Mm-hmm.
There is kind of an understanding there that this is an organization that has seen 6 presidents since 2018, govern the department, and they've all kind of come back and gone back to those kind of structural issues facing Romanian gambling, or how it kind of catches up with other regulatory bodies. And does actually Romanian gambling kind of understand its kind of regulatory path in the coming years?
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, according to you, this is purely your opinion, given the fact that there's been 6 presidents in such a short time and they keep facing the same challenges over and over. Do you think an overhaul of the ONGN is due?
Yes, it is. I mean, I think, look, in terms of the self-exclusion bill, I think that's likely to pull through. I think part of the issue here is I don't necessarily think that Romanian authorities or the wider statute of Romania understands how gambling should be regulated and which body should be involved in the regulation of gambling. And I think that that's an area where the government is going to have to sit down and look at. So if you are going to organise the ONJ from the top down, you're expected to see, to answer these big questions of like, what is the governance of gambling?
Mm-hmm. And they can always turn to Europe for kind of inspiration, because there's so many great markets out there.
No, but I mean, at the same time, and I'd throw the question back at you. I mean, you cover the Bulgarian market, and that kind of pressure to modernize and to kind of accelerate that is hard, and it's hard on the younger nation.
Yeah.
Especially like when we speak about harmonization in European gambling, is that achievable when there's such a kind of disbalance between the regions at play?
Yes, and I've seen many voices in Bulgaria criticizing Europe exactly for that reason, that there's no unified framework to govern gambling. But it's really difficult to do, man. Every market is its unique market. It has its own problems, social structures, and starting anew is going to be a huge task. And if the USR has proposed such developments to gambling restructuring developments, I hope that they know how big of a task it is, because it risks making the market unattractive to the wider international shareholders. On that point, scandals aside, do you think Romania is still considered a dynamic gambling market?
Very much so. And it's kind of this very weird paradox that, okay, it might not be the most functional market, but it's very competitive. And you've got your likes of, Fortuna Bets, Superbet, who are now, being backed by Blackstone. There's been M&A there with 888 doing an acquisition in that market, Evoke. And it's one that it's a market that's withstood kind of its regulatory play out. And Romania is attracted to the international operators.
Mm-hmm. And international operators are attracted to Romania too.
Mm-hmm.
And one last question to send you off. I think we've covered everything recent and not that recent so far. Looking ahead, how do you plan to follow the market's development in the coming months?
I actually think Romania is a market to watch out for. And I think, look, it is at a point of inflection. You are looking at a new government and a new body to the ONJN. And I think that it faces critical questions in which path it follows. But at the same time, I mean, going back to what I was saying, it is a dynamic gambling market. It does carry kind of international appeal. I'll be looking at it very intrigued. And I think that it's a market that should not be slept on.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's going to be one of the boiling pots in Europe this year. That's for certain.
Yeah.
But yeah, to all our listeners, if you're interested in our markets, follow SBC News and Ted Menmuir's coverage especially for the latest updates and developments in the country. I was Viktor Kayed for iGaming Daily. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.